What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we renew the tier list for coordinated defense. Brian, let's hear the imitation.
Donny Vermilion, the best map in the game, is where we have to gather 20 xenon crystals and return them to the stabilizer in the middle of our base. The crystals appear once lava recedes from the low ground, but we need to flee to the high ground while the lava is up. Missiles fly in from the sides and hit your buildings, but you can shoot them down before they hit. Half of all enemy units, structures and missiles are immune to you. The other half is immune to your ally.
So I have Twotuuu and Sticksbender in the call with us today. Twotuuu and Sticksbender, how are you guys?
All right.
Doing pretty good.
Nice.
Hello, welcome everyone. I'm back. Welcome back, everyone.
Twotuuu, how will we rank the commanders this week?
The missiles have polarity, which means that you better have a way to at least help your ally not die so quickly early on. And when the nukes come, you either have to be able to take care of them while doing the mission, as also mobility is a factor since you need to be in several places at once sometimes to kill the units with polarity.
Okay, how about you, Sticksbender?
So basically, there's two options for handling missiles. You can make sure that you both have a full missile defense so that you can shoot down all the missiles together, or you can have a way to just out repair, heal, shield, whatever, all of the missiles aside from nukes, and then you just both have a way of getting the nukes, and then you hope your ally actually gets all their nukes. Or in some commanders' case, you can even survive the occasional nuke, depending on what bonuses you have for workers, basically. And basically, the whole deal is just how well can you handle polarity missiles together, and then just the fact that the actual mission itself, its polarity is relatively low threat because of the fact that it's not a mission where you have to fight an objective with polarity. You just have to pick up magic space rock, so that at least helps.
Okay, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
Abathur struggles with getting early brutalists because you have polarity, so you can't kill half the stuff. And I think if they step over your toxic nest, they get used, but they deal no damage, which really, really sucks.
It does.
Fortunately, there aren't any really strong enemies until way later. So even if you sit at home, you will still eventually get a brutalist. And then once nukes come, you can actually just deep tunnel your brutalists and kill them. And it's actually really easy. You can also deep tunnel to a nuke and see if it's yours, especially if it's in an area that you've already cleared. So you can prepare for it in advance. And the deep tunnel also helps get to places where your allies at. So I put him in A.
Okay, how about you, Sticksbender?
That makes sense. I'd also note that, the standard typical thing of Abathur is a more tanking-oriented commander, lower damage, higher durability, which makes him, in general, better at polarity because you're able to survive long enough for your ally to come instead of having to be like, these guys have to die before I do, and I can't shoot half of them.
Yes.
So Abathur A.
Okay, I actually had him in B because I didn't have anyone in S. And also, my concern was the regular missiles. It's fine if your ally's on top of it, but if not, that's going to be a problem. But anyway, both of you said A, so let's put him in A.
He has mend, which is really good.
It does help. Yes, it does help. Let's move on. Alarak, where do we have him?
So, Alarak is fine at shooting down the missiles, not so fine at tanking the missiles, because he doesn't really have any way to tank, and he doesn't have any real way to help heal his buildings aside from Path of Shield regen. Destroyers are great anti-missile defense if you use P3 Alarak. If you don't use P3 Alarak, you don't even have good anti-missile defense, so you're extra screwed. Unfortunately, if you could only shoot down half the missiles due to that, and then he's not got any great mobility for getting to nukes, there's not really that much going for Alarak here, aside from the fact that his hero unit at least can knock back things that aren't your polarity, which means that at least he's pretty good at handling the rest of the mission with polarity going on. He just really is going to hate the missiles.
Yep.
Probably C tier or D tier.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
I think I put him in B, but I think we'll see. So he does have destroyers, and those are good. However, in order to cover both bases or all four bases, you're gonna need a lot of them, or it's not gonna be doing their job, or they're gonna patrol a bigger circle, which means that they might miss some things when the missiles are not along their path. You also need to not use F2, so you need good control with your units. And the good thing is Mothership can teleport to wherever you need to go, so that that's nice. Overcharge can also stall a little bit, so that's also nice. You can't really deal with nukes that aren't yours, so you hopefully can shoot down all the ones that are yours, but then if there's a nuke that's not yours and it comes to you, then that's really not your fault, but you can't, it's hard to recover if you lose your destroyers because your mothership has a limited like
limit charges.
Charge count. I put him in B, but not a strong B.
What do you think, Sticksbender? Is B okay for you?
I think I stand by Alarak in C tier. Especially since, like, as Twotuuu mentioned, it's true that you're going to need to have like pretty much your entire army supply dedicated to missile defense.
Yes.
And you can't have two.
That's true.
And you have to use you basically, because you're just using Alarak and a mothership to like solo the entire mission. That means that you have to be reasonably good at microing Alarak hero unit. Yeah. C tier seems more reasonable to me.
Is C tier okay for you, Twotuuu?
Yes.
All right. Let's put him in C then. I actually had him in D, but C is fine. I think we only have one prestige recommendation here because both of us, or all of us, talked about the mothership and the destroyers, so it's only Shadow of Death.
Literally, as I said, if you are not P3, you're toast.
You are toast. Tal'Darim, evil toast, but still toast. Let's move on. Arcturus, where do we have him?
He's a Terran commander, so if your ally's not Zerg, you can repair stuff. He also has a lot of hit scan, put bunkers everywhere, and he has ESOs, which can clear lots of areas safely. I put him in A.
Okay, how about you, Sticksbender?
I'm almost tempted to even say he'd even be an S candidate, but not quite. I'd also remind that he has Contaminated Strike, which is crowd control, which is also really good against Polarity because it means you can sear, which it prevents them from actually fighting back. So it's effectively hard CC.
That's actually pretty important, especially if you're going for a strategy where you don't need your ally to be there. You just want to steal the crystals from under Amon. So you fear the enemies and you run a worker in and collect the crystal. That also works. I think it's a unanimous A. So what prestige do we recommend?
Probably P1, so that you can do that whole like grabbing the crystal without even fighting the enemies thing, because the triple fear duration is really good.
I actually think that Merchant of Death would be pretty good here too. I actually use Merchant of Death in my own run.
Merchant of Death is always just the most like versatile, easy go-to Manx prestige for like all purposes. It's just that P1 is specifically extra good here if you like Contaminated Strike, because crowd control good on Polarity.
Yes, let's put him in A. Artanis, where do we have him? Yes.
So there is a good thing here. I mentioned how some commanders can just allow their workers to say no to getting nuked, and Artanis is one of them. If you don't use P3, then you have Guardian Shell, which means if your base gets nuked, your workers don't explode. That's nice. Your buildings are pretty exploded, but your workers at least live, and your Nexus will live because the Nexus just has enough health to survive one nuke. So there is that. Unfortunately, you're really bad at shooting down missiles, so you can shoot down the nukes, but it's not like particularly convenient, and you're basically going to be in a situation where you and your ally want to be tanking the missiles, but Artanis isn't great at tanking missiles because it basically means you're just going to be spamming a bunch of buildings you otherwise wouldn't be using. I'd say he could be B, but maybe C. It really depends on like whether you and your ally are going for a tanking missile strategy or if you're trying to shoot down the missiles.
So you're saying he's at least at Alarak's level?
Yeah, I think that Alarak is actually pretty rough here, to be honest.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
Alarak can at least shoot down missiles. I don't think Dragoons are good at shooting down missiles or like massing Phoenixes. That means your army will be smaller. And Artanis doesn't have a hero unit. So Guardian Shell is nice. Being able to warp where your ally is nice, like to help out or something. That's nice. Shield Overcharge is also nice, but I don't think he's like, when the nukes come, I don't think he's really gonna be very good at stopping them. He's just gonna, you have to like take hits and hope you don't die. And you can't really speed up this mission.
Yeah, he's probably C tier actually, because I also realized that like what I'm thinking here is that since you're not using P3, you know how I would usually deal with the nukes is just orbital strike them, but it occurs to me I'm not sure how well people can aim at nukes with the orbital strike and the in zoomed out interface. Aiming is weird on those nukes. The hitbox is not where you think it is.
There's another thing where it's hard to see the polarity of the missile.
Yeah.
So you might, if you're like not sure, you're trying to look carefully, and it's like, I don't know if it's mine. Then you need like some units there to figure out if it's yours or not. Then and then you try to orbital strike it.
I believe missiles have the same thing of where if you highlight it, if it has a yellow circle under it, it's not yours. If it has a red circle under it, it's yours.
It is yours, yeah.
I don't know.
believe that applies for missiles as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if people have like they're like trying to do other things at the same time, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna click on this missile. I don't know if like that's practical.
Yeah, you need to have like spread out observers to see the missiles earlier in their path or something.
Maybe. I put Artanis in D. I put him in D.
I don't think he's like massively worse than Alarak, but I guess he's not better. Yeah, you're right. He's not better. He's not massively worse. I don't think.
I put Artanis in D because I also have Alarak in D.
No, fair. Yeah, maybe they should both be in D, to be honest.
I did put them both in D.
My reason for D is just because he's not as good as at the mission.
The mission itself was Alarak. That's fair.
I don't know. I don't think he's massively worse than. I don't think he's a whole tier worse than Alarak, but I can definitely see the argument for D. It's just that like I also see the argument for Alarak D.
What do you think, Twotuuu? Artanis in C and Alarak in C, or Alarak in C, Artanis in D, or both of them in D?
Oh, I guess we'll put them both in C now.
Okay. That makes sense. Let's put our Artanis in C. Prestige recommendation. Do we want Garden Shell or not?
Yes, that's like a big part of the whole idea was we want to have Guardian Shell so that workers can survive a nuke to the face if it gets to that point. The advantage of P1 is that way just getting Zealot Templar is a very cost efficient, but more importantly supply efficient way to actually have power out on the map for clearing waves and clearing crystal defenders so that you can still have a lot of your efforts dedicated to defending your base from the missiles and also do your job to contribute out on the map.
Okay, how about what prestige you recommend, Twotuuu?
0 is fine.
All right, let's move on. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka is really, really bad in the early game. However, once it gets to the nuke part, actually, his greater primal worms can insta-kill nukes as long as they're his. And you don't actually need any units on the map. All your money will be spent on defenses, and you can just use Dehaka and or pack leaders together with you to clear stuff. So yeah, and you if you after you take the natural, you can even like take some of the locusts and kill some of the enemies nearby, like crystals that are near your base. You can use the creeper hosts from the from your natural to help out, and you can just build regular primal worms. I put them in C. You just need to be prepared to replace a lot of buildings.
How about you, Sticksbender?
Almost lean towards putting them in B, but it's a little tricky for me to hold a concept to it because one, I don't play as much Dehaka, and two, I would note that Dehaka is like kind of infamous for the fact that he's really much harder soloing against missiles than duoing against missiles. So therefore, it ends up being, if you're used to soloing mutations, your concept of missiles is way more difficult for Dehaka because of the fact that if you're soloing, the just sheer critical mass of missiles that go for your base is just enough that they can actually kind of destroy your base before you can get basic missile defenses in place unless you're really, really tight on things. Whereas if you're duoing, it takes twice as long for your base to actually just die. So you can get your missile defense in before your base just outright dies.
Yeah. So do we agree on C?
I personally thought he could be B, but I probably best defer to. I'm not sure. He feels better than he feels better than Artanis and Alarak.
Could be a higher C.
He's definitely a higher C, but he might be a tier above them. Although they were both candidates for D, so it might be Dehaka and C and both of them in D.
I'm okay with that too.
That's also possible.
Yeah.
I just don't feel entirely right putting the three of them in the same tier because Dehaka seems like notably stronger to me.
Do we put Dehaka in C and the two Protoss in D?
Sure.
All right, let's do that. Let's move on. Fenix, where do we have him?
Your missile defenders are either carriers or sentries. Those are some great options right there, eh?
Fantastic options.
I'm trying to think, like, is there anything really good about Fenix here? He's got anti-missile defense. It's not great, but he's got it. He's got pretty good missile tanking buildings. If he needs to do the strategy of tanking, you could just build a sea of giga cheap Stargates everywhere.
That makes sense.
So
giga cheap
there is that option. For shooting down the nukes, the Dragoon suit has the spell which will one-shot missiles, which is nice.
The panic button spell.
Yeah, Phoenix just feels fine, honestly. Like he doesn't feel like particularly good or particularly bad here. He just seems fine. He's got a hero unit. It's a pretty good hero unit. He can summon that hero unit where needed to shoot down missile nukes if needed. If the ally needs to shoot down a nuke that's going for his base, that's a little bit of a problem, but that's the case for pretty much everyone. And he's got hit scan to shoot down missiles, even if it's not the most cost efficient. He's still got a hero unit, so it's okay that it's not the most cost efficient. And he's got good tanking if he is all I want to tank. He just kind of feels like an okay choice no matter what the situation is, but also not an excelling choice no matter what the situation is. So I guess B tier.
Okay. How about you, Twotuuu?
Sticksbender said B.
Yeah, I think he said B.
I think
Yeah, that's
he's
what I
like
said.
the same as Alarak, right? Like you don't have much in terms of you should not use P1 because you want the Dragoon suit whenever a missile is there. That's the best defense against nukes is the Dragoon suit. You use the Dragoon suit, shoot it once, and then switch suits to regain energy. But yeah, so if you're using P2, you have like an army that you can go out, but then your shell farm should be nearby, and you need to be able to control your shell farm without. If you're doing a carrier defense, you have to move your shell farm without moving the carriers away. If you're not using a carrier defense and you're just space tanking all the missiles, then you can move your army, I guess. I originally put him in C, so C.
Okay, Sticksbender, are you okay with C? Basically the same as Dehaka?
Kind of makes sense. The only reason I kind of leaned towards putting him above Dehaka in B tier is because Dehaka isn't great for the just tank it strategy, whereas Phoenix is quite good at the just tank it strategy. And also Phoenix has the advantage of not being Zerg, which means if he has a Terran ally who's going for the just tank it strategy, they can repair his things.
So what prestige do we recommend? Second one?
Second one.
Network Administrator. There we go. Han and Horner, where do we have them?
They can be everywhere to help out. They also they're Terran. They also can repair, but
shooting down the missiles.
Shooting down like against Polarity and also controlling your army when you're trying to defend against missiles. Han and Horner's best nuke defense is Reapers. So you have to lift your Reapers when the nuke gets close. So you shoot down all the PDDs and then the nuke. But if you like lift when it's not yours because you thought it was yours, then another nuke might be coming. The jump jets or something might be on cooldown and you might die. Also, if the enemy is not like heavy ground or something, you're gonna struggle. Unless you use P2. But if you use P2, you don't have enough galleons to produce Hellions to cover all the bases. So yeah, I put Han Horner in C.
Okay. How about you, Sticksbender?
To put them in C tier just because of the fact that no matter what you go, the random incidental PDDs are going to make your life miserable. Like, even if you're just using strike fighters to help clear the map and like support your ally, then a PDD missile just happened to fly by and then you're sad. You're going to basically want to have Reapers out on the map, I think.
I put them in C because they have repair. That's pretty much it.
Have repair.
That's pretty much it.
A thing.
It's pretty good. Repair's pretty good.
And they do have their salvage passive, which ironically is one of the best things about Horner, and then everyone forgets about it.
They do have salvage.
Yeah, which means if you and your ally have if your buildings or stuff happen to die, that's okay. You get some money back at
Partial
least.
refund.
It's slightly better.
Yeah,
helps pay for the repairs.
Help pay for the repairs. That's true.
Yeah, I guess C tier makes sense.
All right. Does it matter what your prestige is? Because your main help here is being able to repair, right? So does it matter what prestige you use?
Yeah, you're going to want lots of galleons because
So the first
you want to use Reapers. Yes. Anything but P2 is fine.
Okay, let's move on. Karax, where do we have him?
Okay, so Karax is good at tanking missiles. He's good at shooting down missiles. He has static defense that manages to bypass point defense drone, which is nice. And said static defense has a whole lot of range, so it's not too bad to just get coverage over the whole entire base with that too. And just like Artanis, he can orbital strike the missiles, but unlike Artanis, he doesn't have to use a whole orbital strike cooldown and energy cost for an entire set of orbital strikes to shoot down one nuke. He can just grab a couple orbital strikes and shoot down the nuke. He's Karax. He's fine with that.
Energizers can also boost your static defense and your allies' static defense.
Yes, and your allies' army, and they're technically a hit scan unit if you want, but like that's probably not the best way to shoot down missiles when you literally had other buildings. Yeah, Karax is pretty good.
Pretty good.
He does have a little bit of awkwardness for like clearing with your ally because on one hand, he doesn't even have to really be there in quotation marks because he is always there. He has Spear of Adun. He can always just purge.
Karax is
Purge
always
the
there.
things that are his polarity. Yes, Karax is always there. As long as he can see you, Karax would like to know your location. On the flip side, that means that he's not necessarily always contributing hit points because early on he's going to be spending a lot of his money on defending against missiles, so it won't be for a while.
He does
until
contribute
he has,
hit points. He has Unity Barrier.
he does contribute Unity Barrier, which that's another note. Karax does also contribute that your workers can survive a single nuke because of Unity Barrier. And then when it comes off cooldown again, they can do it again. And your buildings can kind of survive nukes because your buildings have a lot of health. Especially if you have building health mastery, then like your base really can just sponge a nuke to the face if your ally just completely fails to shoot down a nuke that's going for you. So that's awesome.
The letter.
Karax is, again, not like the person who I think of as the absolute best, but he's probably a pretty good S candidate.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
On top of all those things, he also has Repair Beam, so he repairs things for free.
Okay.
So so I put him in S because he's everywhere. He can contribute all the time. He can tank. He can shoot missiles. So S.
All right. I actually put him in A because, again, it's polarity, so I don't have anyone in S. But you guys both decided he's S, so let's put him in S. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Also, I did forget to mention Repair Beam, but yes, that is huge.
Prestige, third one?
Third one.
Third one, yeah. You can also do other prestiges, but just remember that, if you don't want P2 because you want buildings, and if you are using P1, remember that you are sacrificing the workers being able to survive the nuke to instead say the buildings get to survive the nuke.
Okay. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan can be everywhere, so Omega Worms allow her and her ally to be anywhere on the map. They can also just tank missiles. So you can just dump Omega Worms in irrelevant parts of the map and nukes will go in that direction. And that's nice. Yeah. I don't know, do they count as your buildings or both of your buildings?
I think it counts for both.
The ally can't means control your allies' nukes will also get drawn.
Unfortunately, it used to be that your allies' missiles would go for the worms, but then they changed that. So now, no, it's only the missiles that were bound for Kerrigan's buildings will go for the worms.
Well, at least
unfortunately,
at least it's only half of them. At least half of them.
Yeah, it is at least half of them. It's just that it means that you aren't able to tank on behalf of your ally by just spamming worms all over the map, which you used to be able to do.
Anyways, so she also has a hero unit, so you can spend all your money on like Hydralisks or just lots of Omega Worms. And so I put her in A.
Okay. How about you, Sticksbender?
I didn't expect her to be that high, given that she's still she can tank missiles pretty well, but she can't shoot them down very well. So you do need an ally who's in the tanking missiles side of strategies rather than the shooting down missiles side of strategies. But she does have Kerrigan hero unit herself to kill the nuke, and you know the drill. Kerrigan hero unit dies, you are very, very sad because that's just always Kerrigan's gameplay. Her hero unit is so essential to keep alive.
That's true.
There is also a note that technically, because you have conventional queens, unlike some Zerg, you kind of do have repair for your own building.
Transfuse.
So yay!
Yeah.
Look, guys, we have repair.
Do Kerrigan queens need creep to transfuse, like in 1v1?
No, that nerf applied only to 1v1. Like most balance changes that were done to 1v1 after the release of Legacy of the Void, it's not something that applies to co-op.
Okay, fantastic. So where do you have them?
I personally would have thought that Kerrigan would be in B tier. I didn't think she really excelled that hard, but she is quite good. So I guess I can see her in A tier, but I would still put my vote on B tier.
Okay. Are you okay with B, Twotuuu?
I suppose, since she has to work a lot. Like, you have to be on top of everything. She's really busy.
I agree. Yeah. I definitely agree. Let's put Kerrigan in B. Prestige recommendation?
2 or 0.
2 or 0. Yeah. Okay. For the zaps. Let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
You are Terran, lovely Terran. They have repair.
Yeah.
Repair is good. You
Repair,
have
good.
hit scan in the form of Marines. Hit scan is good. You have a hero unit. These are a lot of good things.
Very good things.
You are not very good at spamming out a ton of buildings to tank. You
No.
can make a whole bunch of engineering bays.
Yes.
You're not terrible at it either. Your buildings are tanky. Your individual buildings are tanky. It's just that for spamming out a whole bunch of buildings, you are just spamming a bunch of engineering bays, which aren't the cheapest to spam out, but it is an option.
Just repair.
When I'm looking at Nova, I'm basically kind of getting the exact same vibe as Fenix, where it's like she's just fine at everything. She's not like particularly excelling at anything, but she's just fine at everything. The difference being that Fenix was a Protoss and Nova is a Terran, so she's just
She has repair.
way better because repair and because
Yeah,
hit
scan.
scan and because why is Missile Command designed to be a racist mutator so that it's just pain to deal with for everyone except Terran?
Racist mutator.
Why is Missile Command racist? Anyways, yeah,
Killbots
probably.
is racist too.
Yeah, Killbots is very racist. If
Very
you're not
racist.
Zerg. Yeah, exactly. Killbots and Missile Command are the two most racist mutators. Anyways, I feel like Nova's probably either A or B. I'm not entirely certain where to place her, but she's good. That's all I can really say. It's just she good.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
I would put her in B because her Marines, unless you're going like P1 barracks, I don't think you'll have enough Marines to cover both bases because the patrol routes would be too wide to like be effective. And you can use Ravens to shoot down nukes, but only if you know they're yours. And Nova herself should probably not P3, so you can blink around and get places, and then you can like airstrike the attack waves or whatever. That's so you kill off most of the enemies that are yours, and then finish them off with like a pair of liberators or your hero unit. I put her in B.
Are you okay with B, Sticksbender?
Yeah, B's fine. I do think that actually P3 is quite good against Polarity, despite the fact that it does make her much slower at getting around. It is nice to be able to just nuke a base to the point where you can just say, "All right, ally, you can
Everything's
go in there
yours. All
whenever
yours.
because it's all yours."
Literally
It's
all
like
yours.
it's like you've like gone trade deal for your ally. You have to solo these bases, but also you get the Polarity mutator is no more.
That is true. Okay, so either first prestige or third prestige, right?
The usual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the usual. Or to be honest, technically you don't have to use the first prestige if you want to have like a combination of Marine Raven, so any prestige.
Okay, so B, right?
Yeah, B.
Let's move on. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov, so P3 on this map is not great because the lava.
The lava.
So that sucks.
It's
the lava
truly
sucks.
a force of nature.
So if you use like P1, then you will need some kind of army, but I don't know how good that army will be. He
It's
does
a
have
force
hit
of
scan,
nature.
so you can put like a bunker, like bunkers around the map.
I
And
learned-
Stukov P1.
I played with a P1 Stukov earlier today. I learned that you can actually use Diamondbacks to stun the missiles with their bring them downy thing. It's kind of funny.
Even nukes?
I'm not sure about the nukes, but definitely the missiles.
Oh yeah, that's so you
it does in fact
incidentally
work
help
on the
out.
nukes.
That's pretty funny. It does work on nukes?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
fantastic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he can grab the missile and tell it, "No, stay there."
I would think P1 is better than P3 anyways because you're guaranteed to have like units in the bunkers, whereas P1 sometimes like if your units are not in the direction that like they're walking in the direction away from the missile, you might not actually shoot them.
You mean P3?
But yeah, I put Stukov in B.
Okay, how about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, there's basically there are two options here. You make P3 bunkers or you make not P3 bunkers. But you still make bunkers.
They're pretty bonkers.
Yay! Yeah, so P1 is good for like just make a bunch of bunkers around your bases and then a bunch of Diamondbacks. You still get the trickle of infested, which gets to slam into enemy bases. Honestly, I think the lava isn't that bad for Stukov because yeah, your army dies to the lava, but also
The lava.
they're just free respawning units. It's not really the end of the world. It's just kind of an interruption to the river of infested, which which
Corruption.
is inconvenient. I feel like that's more inconvenient than actually like a problem personally. But either way, yeah, I think that P3 and P1 should be relatively similar in power level, where P3 is the easier, like lazier way of doing it that requires you to be less on top of things in general, and then P1 is the one that requires a little bit more like work, but is probably a little bit more reliable as well. So yeah, I kind of would lean towards putting Stukov in A tier. Other than that, I basically just mimic what Twotuuu said.
I did put him in A tier.
I think that he has repair, he has strong hit scan anti-air
Right?
missiles, and hey, he can stun the nuke.
Yes.
Yippee!
So yeah, what do you think, Twotuuu? Are you okay with A?
Yes.
All right.
Actually.
We end up being unanimous A.
Invest structure.
Very nice.
Invest structure is good for stalling too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, he has. Not only does he have repair, but he's a top bar that is free repair that works on Zerg buildings. Woo!
Yeah. So there you go. Stukov, a sure investment. There we go. A tier. Swann, where do we have him?
Okay, so Swann is good. He has free repair. He has turrets which can easily shoot down the missiles, and those turrets shoot down the missiles by just overwhelming the point defense drone with sheer volume of projectiles, which means that if you use them in tandem with someone else's anti-missile defense that is not hit scan, don't worry. Swann will deplete all of the missile point defense drone energy for you very quickly for your cannons or for your hydralisks or for whatever ally that Swann is working with who doesn't have hit scan anti-air. Don't worry. All the missiles that Swann needs to shoot down that are coming for your base, he'll blow through that point defense drone energy so that you can shoot down the missiles that are your job to shoot down much more easily. The laser drill will shoot down nukes by just existing, especially if you have like an ally who's giving vision of it. Great synergy of Stetman, everyone. Look at that. Also, if you have P1, the laser drill will make like fighting enemy attack waves and such relatively easy. Also by just existing, even if your army isn't there. Not like your army shouldn't be there, because good news, your army is very long range. Do remember when Swann's A moving a bunch of Goliaths, that's a lot of range, which actually works well for parallel A moving in tandem against Polarity, because it means your Goliaths can just sit behind the allied army and still be hitting the enemy attack wave before your allied army is in a lot of cases, because they have so much range against both air and ground. Yeah, I would say Swann is S tier. Swann is very good. I personally feel like Swann is like the best commander here with all his repair and missile turrets and laser drill shooting down nukes.
Swann's girth just overwhelms all the missiles. How about you, Twotuuu?
I also think Swann is the best commander of all of these because you're helping without even knowing.
That's true. That's true.
You're not even looking. It's like my allies pushing. I'm looking at my base. I'm like, can you help? No, it's dead. Okay.
Okay.
The laser, P1 laser, AoE.
P1 laser is pretty good. Yeah, I did use Swann. Very good. I could confirm very good. Yeah, I put him in A personally because I don't have anyone in S because it's Polarity. But both of you put him in S, so let's put him in S. Legend has it.
I made the Swann discussion sound more like an infomercial.
More like an infomercial. Rumor has it that whenever Swann gets put in S tier, his waistline grows an extra centimeter. So that's pretty good for him. His defense grows even better. Let's move on. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus. So his auto turrets are hit scan, but they're so fragile. So you need like a forest of them. Otherwise, those splitter missiles will break them. So yeah, you need like a line of them for them to actually be effective. With that said, Tychus has lots of hit scan. He himself is hit scan. Sirius helps. Sam, Nux, and Vega. So the 5 outlaws. And then you pretty much just have like, you just need Tychus on the field, and then everyone else can be at the natural or whatever helping out. I put him in A.
Okay. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, here is like one of the situations where it's like ironically kind of easy to use Lone Wolf optimally, because you just have everyone is on missile defense except Tychus, who's with your allies' army, and just A moves in, and you don't have to look at the other outlaws. You just put them on patrol to shoot down missiles, and unlike a lot of people, like the problem with having like a ball of like Marines or Hydralisks on patrol to shoot down missiles is if you don't have enough like volume of strength there, they're just going to die to splitter missiles. But if you have Lone Wolf outlaws on patrol like that, yeah, they don't care. They're not dying to splitter missiles. They are way too tanky for that nonsense. So yeah, you just have outlaws as missile defense, and you can add auto turrets to supplement those outlaws. It works fine as long as you're okay with the fact the auto turrets might die a bit. But I mean, hey, if they have outlaws with them, then it should be fine. And you just send Tychus in there. So yeah, A makes sense.
All right.
Tychus is good.
Lone Wolf, not even a question. Let's move on. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun. So you do have hit scan defense in the form of Corsairs. Corsairs are actually Corsairs continue to be a really good anti-air unit. Who'd have thought? They're fast, and even if you have like you're using Corsairs in your army, if you're doing that, which GT Corsair continues to be good, then you can recall them over towards a nuke with a dark pylon in order to make sure you're in position. If your ally needs to shoot down a nuke, you can recall your ally over to the nuke with a dark pylon against their will and make sure that your base doesn't get blown up, which is nice. You can kind of, out repair nukes for your own base, and if your ally is Protoss, because of the fact that you have the hyper shield regeneration on close structures and units, which is nice. And also, as we mentioned, the whole thing about crowd control being very good against Polarity, because you can crowd control enemies that you can't actually kill. Vorazun is very good at crowd control. Yeah, I would argue there is a solid argument for putting Vorazun in A tier, I would think.
A tier. Okay. How about you, Twotuuu?
I would put her in A tier, except for the fact that if you are fighting air, then you're gonna be strapped for Corsairs. You're gonna need like patrolling Corsairs and Corsairs to be on the field, doing some work. Stargate
Honestly,
Corsair,
triple Stargate should be plenty, and even double Stargate with Chrono Boost, because remember that Corsairs build very fast.
If you go all air, you get 5-star. You can support 5 Stargates.
Really?
So,
I thought that mostly came. I thought that mostly came from the long build time of oracles relative to the short or low cost to long build time oracles, but maybe I'm wrong.
But I usually build 5. That's
okay.
But 4 or 5.
Point is, lots of Stargates, and I would personally say you want to go Corsair Oracle either way, because that way you don't have to worry about the whole melee Dark Templar thing, and you can spam stasis wards. So if it's a enemy ground comp, you make more Oracles. If it's an air comp, you make more Corsairs. But I would personally go Oracle Corsair here, I think.
That's true. Time stop, you can time stop clear an entire area, at least of all your stuff. So it's similar to like a Nova nuke, and you could clear like an attack wave while you're at it.
And and you can steal crystals under time stop.
And if you and your ally are pushing together, then time stop just is good, because good news, you just cleared the base under time stop. You don't have to worry about Polarity if they aren't shooting back.
Okay.
You can also teleport probes to like the eastern islands so that you can get the crystals.
Or just or just even as a more blanket statement, you can teleport probes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So letter.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot one last thing. Again, with workers being able to tank the nukes, if you have a dark pylon cloaking your mineral line and a nuke lands on your mineral line, good news! Your workers aren't dead.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
And that applies for your ally as well if you cloak their mineral line.
So they put him in A?
Yeah. A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vorazun is one's prestige, Keeper of Shadows, so use that. Okay, let's move on. Zagara, where do we have him?
Oh man,
awful,
Scourge,
terrible.
Scourge, just chase whatever. So if you're using like P1, then P1 is not good for the reason that you only get 1 Scourge nest, and if your Scourge nest goes down, you're out. You can't make more Scourge for a while, for a bit, and you might not even realize when it goes down. So I use P3, and I made like 4 Scourge nests, and I made like several spawning pools. So just to make sure I can always build stuff. Bio launchers, randomly shooting stuff, you can like put 4 bio launchers and like aim at nukes, but that's not even the best option. They're not, it's hard to aim. The nuke might not be yours. It's just not great.
Feels bad all around.
Yeah. You can make Scourge, but if you make Scourge, like you can't F2 because you want to patrol the Scourge to take out missiles, and they're gonna be wasted killing like regular missiles and die to splitter missiles. So it's like you can't instantly build them to deal with a nuke, which really sucks too. I want to put her in F, but I don't think she's that bad.
I don't think she's that bad either. But what do you think, Sticksbender? You think he's F? You think she's helping Amon just by being there?
Well, I mean,
with Polarity, actually, almost, yeah. If you have
Yeah.
someone who just does not have any options,
If your ally
for
doesn't do
missiles.
anything and there is polarity, then they're kinda crippling you by being there.
I mean, it's not that they don't do it.
like she can do stuff, but and also a Scourge as a missile defense, you have to constantly replace them, and they're not free. And the sheer volume of missile means that it's not even necessarily even cheap to do this. It's not cheap. It's constantly draining your economy. It's constantly draining your larva. It's a pain. It's constantly draining your supply. You can't spam buildings if you're P1.
Can you just go the
obviously terrible.
transfuse route? Can you just go the transfuse route?
Transfuse, unlike repair, transfuse isn't autocast, so you can't even really do that unless you're intending to super giga micromanage. You still have to shoot down nukes somehow, and again, bio launchers are a pretty terrible way of dealing with nukes, but they might be your best option. But also, you need to have 4 bio launchers, which are stop commanded to make sure they're not firing passively, because otherwise you're gonna see a nuke come, you're gonna select your bio launchers and try to aim them, and they'll take 4 seconds to reload because they were just auto firing. So you'll have to manually tell them to stop firing after you shoot down any given nuke with your bio launchers. Your Zagara hero unit is kind of neutered because not only does she use projectiles, but when she spawns her hunter killers, they too use projectiles.
Sounds like a bad deal all around. It sounds like a terrible deal all around, to be honest. Anyway,
yeah,
so
it's pretty awful.
Do you put Zagara in F? Not just not just a tier, but 2 tiers below Artanis and Alarak.
Yeah, I think Zagara's really freaking bad, personally.
Really F and bad, because, F tier.
It's also hard to control your army if you're trying to attack a strong army or something. It's you have to control click.
Oh yeah, all your stuff is melee, which means that you're getting body blocked by units you can't even shoot.
So do we put her in F tier?
Yeah.
Twotuuu.
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
Yeah.
It's unanimous. We somehow got a unanimous F tier. Congratulations, Zagara.
People think I hate Zagara. I love Zagara a lot. I use her a lot. I really like Zagara.
The reason Zagara ends up so high on the tier list so often is because Twotuuu really likes playing Zagara and forcing her to work the way that I do with Artanis. The problem is Zagara, admittedly like Artanis, is often very bad.
Guys, you're gonna expose the secret for how to get on my tier lists. You have to solo mutations with one of the bad commanders. you have to unfairly, almost blindly stand for one of the F tiers. Anyway, so it's unanimous F. So yeah, Zagara does go in F tier. Do we recommend? Wait, I guess it doesn't matter if you're F tier. Just use whatever prestige you feel is least
not
bad.
P1.
Use P3. It's the least F tier of the F tiers.
The least F tier
P3 is
of the
the
F
only
tier.
one that gave. P3 is the only version of Zagara that gave an argument of maybe she's only E because of P3, but nah, she's still F.
Let it be known, I did put Zagara in F. I think I put her in bottom. She's the worst, but I did put her in D instead of F. I guess it matters little.
Bad.
Okay, let's move on. Zeratul, where do we have him?
It's always so funny how we go from Zagara to Zeratul because Zagara is oftentimes so bad against so many mutations, and then we get a Zeratul. It's oh yeah, this guy. Well, anyways, he's not bad.
He can trap the fragments.
He can trap the fragments, but more importantly, he has a long-ranged hit scan anti-air to deal with missiles that stuns the missiles. It's crowd control. Yippee! So you can even stun nukes that aren't your polarity in order to slow them down and give your ally more time to shoot down that missile before it dooms you all. Unfortunately, he does have the problem that he's
not
Terran monolith. He's not Terran. His Kadaran monoliths are cooldown based. If they do die due to air missiles and problems, you cannot replace them. So there is that. That does suck. However, you should probably just be doing cannon spam anyways, because that means that you have the maximum possible defense at home, and you also have a ton of buildings to diffuse the missile damage across all those buildings. So use the cannon. Cannon good.
That's good.
Cannon strong. And Zeratul hero unit, he he is hit scan anti-air, and he can solo entire armies by spinning around in a circle. And probably I think A tier, but I could see B tier.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
I put him in S. Because one, so you can trap the fragment on this map, which means your rally point for your gateway doesn't have to like go to parts that will run over lava. So what you do is you make cannons, but you also mass shield guards, because shield guards can hit the PDDs and kill them. And you just have a bunch of shield guards surrounding the base. Since your army is going to be Zeratul only, you're not going to use F2. You're not moving anything. And you don't project the monoliths, you just project cannons. So you make sure that you always have a hit scan at home shooting missiles. So your army is Zeratul, call downs, and cannons. And as the game goes longer, you'll have stronger cannons that can tank against the stronger enemies. So I think he's S.
Do you agree, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about the fact that shield guards exist for some reason. Yeah, okay. S is fine.
Okay, before we put before we put Zeratul in S, I have two questions. First question: can you demote the missiles?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
okay.
They don't demote to
missiles.
anything.
Yeah.
Well, if they did demote, they would probably demote to like a tier 0 unit or tier 1 unit.
I
Like
think
the
some Zerglings, something like that.
yeah.
I think they do
yeah.
demote to
And
Zerglings.
Widow Mines for
and-
some reason. Why are
Mines?
Widow Mines like the lowest tier of unit? Like Widow Mines, I believe, are part
Also
of the lowest tier.
worker.
Like there is worker. It might demote them to worker, but I think like what does it do to aberrations? Because like doesn't it?
Anyway,
don't know.
my
I don't
second
know.
question. So my second question is, if you see a missile heading toward your cannon farm, and it's not your missile, or you're not your nuke missile, and your ally cannot get defenses in place, can you just activate the barrier and save those cannons, or are they just gone?
I'm not sure. Is the barrier manual castable on Zeratul's cannons? This is not something I've actually tried before. I don't think it's.
That's one of my
manual
reservations about putting him in
castable?
S. If your ally is not putting anything
Well, I
on
mean,
your cannon
the
farm,
thing that helps with that is the fact that, again, you can manually target with monoliths, and that will stun it. And if you have enough monoliths in the area, you can actually rotate their attacks, like make it so like you attack it with a monolith, and then as soon as it's about to get unstunned by the previous monolith attack, you command it with the next monolith, and then they'll be like, because they have a constant attack speed, they'll keep that pattern of like zap, 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 zap.
okay,
and
that's
keep the
interesting.
missile
But
stun locked.
so to answer the question, can you save it with barrier?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I guess it's not relevant. I did not put Zeratul in S, but both we put him in S. Let's put him in S.
I would say that the solution of being able to literally perma stun the nuke is probably better than using barrier to just tank the nuke but still take a bunch of like life damage and lose all your shields and probably lose some cannons. Like even if you can use the barrier, that's probably a worse solution than using monoliths to stun the nuke for so long that your ally has like 30 whole seconds to get there.
Okay, that's fine. So originally I didn't have anyone in S tier because my S tier is voice chat. I still do believe that voice chat is better than any commander you pick, because if you have voice chat, you can pick even bad commanders and win
And
with them.
polarity becomes less painful. Yes.
Yes, right, Twotuuu, with voice chat.
Oh, yeah.
Voice chat I think is my
Oh,
S
yeah,
tier.
yeah.
Voice chat is a definite S tier. Anyway, that's not relevant anymore. Do we have a double S?
No, it's polarity.
No,
Definitely not.
it's polarity. It's polarity.
Who's top of S?
Swann.
Unanimous. Followed by
Karax.
okay, Zeratul, bottom of S.
Oh yeah, Zeratul is barely S to
Barely
me, but
S.
he is S.
I definitely did put Zeratul in S. I feel like repair is a huge part of being one of the best commanders.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt like Zeratul's A, but the fact that he does sort of have repair. He has Protoss only. He has Protoss only repair, which is not
It's fine.
not quite Terran
It's
repair, but
fine.
it's still fine. It's still fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, let's move on. Who's top of A? I think Arcturus, right? Tychus?
It's Tychus or Mex, one of those
It's-
two.
It's one of the
Probably-
Terrans.
I would probably do Minsk than Tychus personally.
I think Arcturus too. He gets economy faster and actually,
He has ESOs. He can just go P1 to have enough CC to stun lock.
he has more of an ability
Everything.
to spread static defense all around the bases than does Tychus.
Yes.
You have to
Correct.
Note that if
That
you
as well.
do mass ESOs, you have like more area to defend. 'cause
I just went
they might
inhumane.
get hit.
Just what you mean here.
I mean, if you're amassing ESOs, then in a sense it's easier to defend because you don't have to worry about like really splitting your attention between like army and defending. You can just literally play SimCity where you're spamming bunkers and then you're spamming ESOs with bunkers to protect those ESOs, and it's just building simulator.
Okay, so who's
Plus,
third?
if you're spamming ESOs, you have a ton of buildings to make sure the missiles are, diluted.
Who's third in A?
Stukov.
Oh yeah, because everyone who has repair.
Yep.
Repair is huge. See,
Yep.
this is why I'm hesitant in putting Zeratul that high up in S, because he doesn't have repair. And everyone who the rest of the guys, the rest of the top 6, all have repair. Anyway, let's move on. Who's next?
Yeah.
Vorazun or Abathur? I almost feel like am I crazy? I almost feel like Abathur should have been in B because of his early game. I feel like it's super rough.
Looking at A tier, I think Abathur's probably B.
What do you think?
Okay, what is in B? What is in B?
Kerrigan, Nova, Stetboy. I think Abathur belongs there.
Yeah, I'm comparing Abathur to those 3 mentally. Yeah, I think so actually. I don't even think. In fact, Kerrigan, Nova, Stetman. I'm not even sure I'd put Abathur as the top of B. So yeah, Abathur definitely needs to go down to B. Drop Abathur down. Actually, didn't we originally say like when I think that we originally had that when Abathur was first in A? I was just like, I feel like he's probably gonna be lower, but we'll let it settle out and see how it goes later in the tier list. And then we kind of forgot to come back to Abathur, but yeah, he should have been dropped down to B.
Well, now we're coming back. We didn't forget. I always meant to come back to Abathur because I feel like that was he's weirdly high up. But yeah, Twotuuu, what do you think? Do we demote Abathur to B, or is he really A?
I don't see what his problem is.
Early game.
Like by the time you need to go out and do stuff, you have a brutalist. Like
his problem is not that he's necessarily bad. It's that he's just not nearly as good as having a bunch of hit scan static defense that handles everything.
I suppose.
Basically, the biggest thing that really seals me thinking that Abathur should be B is that if I compare Abathur side by side with Kerrigan just feels slightly better in every way.
Almost.
All right. Okay.
Okay, let's put Abathur in B. So Vorazun is bottom of A. Okay, now who's top of?
That feels weird to me actually, because Vorazun's really strong.
So you think Vorazun's better than Stukov?
No.
No.
Yeah, she's where she belongs.
A tier's just got some pretty good people in it. A tier's got some pretty good people.
I mean, that's why they're in A tier.
That's why they're in A tier.
All right.
It almost makes me question actually maybe Zeratul should just be dropped down to top of A.
It's
like A tier.
I do think
A
that
tier has some really strong people.
I do think that.
Yeah, let's pull Zeratul out of S. Like Karax and Swann are on another level.
I do agree. Karax and Swann on another level. Sorry, Twotuuu. If it's not unanimous, it's not S. Oh my goodness.
I mean, we kind of did agree because we kind of agreed anyways because it was very unanimous on the order of S. The order of S was incredibly obvious.
So he's top of A.
Yeah, definitely top of A. If he was an S, I think the next logical step is top of A, not anywhere after that. Anyway,
he's top of A. But he's not S because just look at Karax Swann. Look at their glorious girthiness.
Yes, Zeratul's too sexy. Let's move on. Who's top of B? We have Abathur, Kerrigan, Nova, Stetboy.
I think that the answer is Kerrigan.
Based on what?
Based on hero unit that's able to comfortably and easily solo everything else so that you can spend all your money on defense, but also getting to be able to spam worms so that you can, hold missiles away from your base for the missiles that are going for your buildings, which is also useful for nukes because some of the nukes will just go somewhere that nobody cares about. So that's nice. And then also based on the fact that your hero is able to always teleport back to deal with nukes, like getting your hero into position to deal with nukes is always nice and instant because of worms. It gives your ally more map mobility, which is great with Polarity. Like your ally being able to use worms to get around is very helpful. And also it does kind of give there is something that is useful about being able to give your ally an escape route in case of Polarity because
I guess that's
if one side loses their army and the other side is now stranded with a bunch of units they can't fight, having an evacuation route via worms is nice. So that's always a few bonus points. You can also, if you want to, But Kerrigan also has the whole thing of the reason I brought up Transfuse originally for Kerrigan for like healing Zerg buildings is because you kind of want to make means anyways, in my opinion, as Kerrigan, because you can use them to spam Transfuse on your hero unit so that your hero unit never has to worry about running low on hit points. You can always just go home, Transfuse real quick, and get back to fighting because, as we've mentioned, Kerrigan is always busy.
So, what do you think, Twotuuu? Do you agree with Kerrigan being top of B?
I think Stedman's better.
You think
Because
Stedboy's better?
Stedman, Gary's not going to die, whereas Kerrigan might die.
Yeah.
Gary doesn't die. So, like, you're fighting... Kerrigan has the usual... Like, if you're fighting a heavy air comp, she's by herself. Unless... Well, hopefully your allies there, too. Like, hopefully you're using P2. But if you're not using P2, then you're going to have a hard time fighting air units. Especially once... Yeah, so...
Or if you're
can't-
P3, you can also fight air units, but if you're
Yeah.
P0, you're gonna have a brutally bad time against air units. That's true. I forgot we like said that P0 was an option because like in my mind it's like almost like never an option because like but air units exist. How can you use P0 Kerrigan when air units exist?
Yeah.
Painfully.
So, I...
All right.
Stedman also has a mobility. He can't get into position and he can't lure things away, but his global vision is similar to Omega's, I guess.
I actually thought,
Yeah.
Twotuuu, I actually thought you were gonna make an argument for Abathur being top of B. So that just kind of seals the deal.
No, I think we
No.
agree that Abathur is slightly worse Kerrigan.
Because he has to work more.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go.
He has to work more in order to get Brutalisk, which is a hero unit, which is like Kerrigan, but slightly worse.
So our order is Stetboy, Kerrigan, Abathur, Nova.
Yes.
Wow, Nova has repair. That's rough. Who's top of C?
She has repair, but she can't make enough Marines.
Who's top of C? Raynor?
Yeah, Raynor.
Yeah, I did have Raynor in B, so I'm okay with Raynor being top of C. Who's next?
Dehaka.
Dehaka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dehaka
we agree that
control
Raynor
is
and
not-
Dehaka were similar, and the difference was less than a tier.
Who's next?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. And
Yeah.
last is Hot and Horner because they have repair.
At
Their
least
magma's
they
gonna
have
explode.
repair.
Their magmines will
Literally, at
explode on things they can't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least they have repair. That's
At least they have repair.
already better than the mothership.
At least you can use P1 to make that less painful to Magmines. Because if you just drop Magmines in the middle of the enemy army, then yeah,
They will
they'll
hit
explode on things
something.
they can't repair. But the AOE will hit things they can hurt.
Yeah,
so
they will
there
hit
you
something.
Go.
Okay, so who's top of D?
Alarak.
Artanis. I don't know. I think that Artanis because Guardian Shell. I think Guardian Shell is better than Alarak.
I'm okay either way.
I'll make that argument.
I'm okay
for
either way.
Artanis.
If you guys can't agree on who's less bad in D, I just leave it as is. I'd call it a tie. D is not an important enough tier to argue on.
Alright.
I don't know. I feel like just on the basis of Guardian Shell and Shield Overcharge alone, I'd put Artanis above Alarak. But
All right. So for D tier, use who you like more, and F tier. there's a guy at F tier.
Zagara is the bottom of F tier. No one is the top of F tier.
Zagara fell too much in love with Deep Tunnel. She really deep tunneled this time.
I mean, okay, you know what? We have a top and bottom of F tier. The top of F tier is P3 Zagara, and the bottom is P1 Zagara.
There we go. All right. Do we have synergies of B below? Who's gonna be better than? Well, that's a lie. Any combination of these is better than character Swann on their own because Polarity exists. So any combination of these, any combination of these is a synergy. As long as you guys have voice chat, because voice chat is my double S tier.
Now, question is that synergy combo better than Swann Zagara?
That's a good question because Swann can't repair Zagara.
He can't repair Zagara.
You know
He
what?
does, however, if you have a bunch of remember the whole thing about dealing with point defense drones by just overwhelming them with missile turret swarm missiles. If you have a bunch of support crawlers and a bunch of missile turrets working together,
You can't overwhelm
even
the defense.
Swann can carry Zagara.
Swann can in fact carry Zagara. There we go. That's miraculous. Oh my goodness.
Her problem is the PDDs, right? So you get rid of the PDDs.
Okay, so do we have a combination of guys B tier below who are better than Swann and Zagara? Raynor and
Dehaka.
Dehaka?
Those two.
I'm
No.
thinking Rainer and Stetboy.
Not really. Rainer Stetman.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
Who other than
Kerrigan.
Phoenix down there is really good at using the tanking solution?
Well,
yeah.
Kerrigan and Phoenix, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's E and below. I was
B
thinking
and
of all
below.
the C and D tier people.
Kerrigan and
Kerrigan
Phoenix.
Phoenix should be a great team.
Yeah, they're both strong frontal pushers.
And
they
they
can
both
just-
can just tank things with just you just spam
Spam
worms and
buildings.
stargates to the point that you spam so many worms and stargates that you only really have to worry about the nukes.
That's true. All right, I guess that's gonna be for this tier list. It's a long one, guys. Watch Twotuuu and Sticksbender's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time. Okay, guys. For those of you who are still sticking around after this, the hardest part of making these tier lists is getting people to be getting to be aligned at the same time. If you want to be part of the tier list, my only requirement is that you are pretty decent at Starcraft 2 co-op and you have voice chat. So if you fulfill those two requirements, message me in the comments, or ideally in Discord, so I can, I don't know, screen you or something. Anyway, see you guys next time.